Welcome to Nevertheless Podcast with Bidemi Mark-Mordi, a show dedicated to organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. Today, you would learn how to discover your essence and live more powerfully.
Hi, welcome to the Nevertheless Show, a show for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. We're in the series, Creating Multiple Streams of Income. In the last episode, I tried to show you that the idea of a multiple streams of income takes its root from the Bible. I did show you Genesis chapter 2 from verse number 10 to 15 that describes the number of rivers that ran through the Garden of Eden. And I did share with us in that first episode the names of the different rivers and what they meant and what they stood for. Before that episode ended, I showed us, or I did tell us, that the way to take what we call our primary stream of income, which is what God has resourced us with, whether in a skill or a talent or a job and all of that, that the way to take it and use it to build a bedrock for wealth is to make sure that we do what we need to do and we do it well. That we deploy or we serve with the gifts that God has given us, the products, the services, the skill. We make sure that we use them excellently so that it would, as the Bible would say, that a man's gift maketh room for him, so that that will begin to make room for us. I told us that we cannot be standing still and refuse to upskill and do better in the things that we do and expect that we can build wealth. And I did say to us that not everybody is going to be a trust fund baby, and not everyone is going to be left this inheritance that gives them that leg up. Many of us will have to start from the ground, but God did not leave us bereft of a gift to start with. I cited Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 through to 28, where I talked about God breathing and giving us, creating us in his image and likeness, and then giving us what I call the first dominion. From there, I went on to talk about the mandate, where God said, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it, and then have dominion. The dominion mandate will be lived by those who convert what God has put to them in them as raw talent and raw resources into some kind of service product or skill that goes on to serve others and then solves problems, so that by solving and becoming a solutionist, we will begin to earn. This episode, I'm going to be looking at the second river, the river Gihon. What does Gihon mean? Gihon is a Hebrew word that stands for bursting forth. Bursting forth. And I said that when we look at it within the filter of creating multiple streams of income, Gihon stands for expansion. Everything that God gives you, you may have to start from the scratch, you may have to grow in, but ultimately can bring you to the place where if you use what I call your leverage gift properly, if that's the first thing that God gave you, whether it's in a job or it's in a business or it's in something, if you use it well and you serve excellently with it, it has the capacity to multiply. It has the capacity to grow and expand. And maybe before I go into the content proper, I should share my own personal experience with you. The first thing I did, my major gift, I used to say to people that my major gift was the gift of words. Now that has now grown and has become the gift of wisdom. But when I started out, I felt like the major gift that God gave me, the thing that he's given me that I should grow and profit and impact the world with, was the gift of words. So I am someone who can write. I've written songs, I've written books. At my last count, I've authored, fully completed, published 25 books, if I'm correct. And I have at least 8 manuscripts in different states of completion that I'm working on at the moment. I teach, I coach, I counsel. Everything that consists my superpower comes from the flow of words. So the first thing that I ever did was to publish a magazine called Effectual Magazine, a lifestyle magazine for women and those who love them. Now, when I started Effectual Magazine, I did not have money to do a proper magazine, but I could afford to do, the skill was there, the gift was there. I could write at the drop of a hat. But it now meant that I had to sit down and envision. I envisioned an international standard magazine. But of course, I did not have the resources on many levels to be able to publish a magazine at that level. But I knew I was in the church media team and I knew how to publish church bulletins. So what I did was I took the idea of Effectual magazine and I would publish an edition of what I call the Effectual magazine. It would be 5 pages of church bulletin together. That was what I used to do. So I would do them. It was A4. When I finished, they would saddle stitch and they would fold over. So I have 10, 12 pages, sometimes up to 20 pages. But it was just bond paper and one color print. That was how I started Effectual magazine. When we started, I used to just do a few copies. I had a fellowship that held in my living room. So what would happen was we'd take this, every woman who'd come for the fellowship every fortnight would take a copy away. But then I realized that I wasn't able to reach a lot of people. Very few, even if more people wanted to come, my living room couldn't take more than 12, 13, 15 people at a time. But I wanted to serve a whole lot more people. So what did I do? I took the same Effectual magazine and I started to package them. I'll put 10 of the same edition in one nylon pack, and then I would seal it. And when these women who would come for the Bible study in my living room would come, at the end of the day, I'll say to them, buy a pack, keep one for yourself, and give 9 away. So on any good day of fellowship, if I had 10 women come, it will mean that rather than distribute 10 copies of that Effectual magazine at that time, I would distribute how many? Guess what? I'll distribute 100 copies. And if I had more than 10 women come, of course, as the women came, the numbers grew. After a time, this same Effectual magazine, we started to publish proper magazine format. But we're publishing in Lagos, Nigeria, and it meant that we had distributors and we had subscribers all around the nation of Nigeria. But it was not enough. I wanted to serve an international audience. Guess what we did? Some company then, they called themselves Issue. So we started to publish Effectual magazine on Issue, which meant that if you're in America and you wanted a copy of Effectual magazine, you didn't have to wait for me to come to America or find someone coming to America to bring you a physical copy. If you get on Issue, you can actually order a copy of Effectual magazine, and Issue, just like Amazon would do, will print a copy and send to you. That broadened the people that I served. Gihon means bursting forth. It speaks to expansion. If you want to create another stream of income from what you are earning from your gift, you have to figure out how to expand. And the biblical terminology for it is multiply. Is multiply. Now, if you know what multiplication is, 1 plus 1 addition is 1 plus 1 is 2. But if you do 2 plus 2 is 4. Yeah, it is 4. But and 2 plus 3 is what? Is 5. But if you do 2 times 3, it becomes something else. So as you multiply, the numbers go up. That's the idea of expansion. You can't say you want to have multiple streams of income and then out of your primary source of income, you spend everything you make. The idea, according to financial advisors, is to make sure that you save part of what you make. When you save to an extent, then you can take what you have and plow it into another venture or plow it into some investment so that money will begin to make money for you. That's the point of expansion. If you have something that you are doing right now, there is no skill and there is no gift. I have proven that to be true. There is no skill and there's no gift that you have. There's no product, there's no service that you have distilled in this moment that you cannot earn from in 4 different ways. So when we started talking about exploring, some people will call it the side hustle. When you find yourself, when you have crystallized or you have established ambition, you want to move on to Gihon. In Gihon, you see there's a lot of potential out of the things that you do. So for instance, I'll give you another example. I wrote a book titled Destiny Navigational Application, DNA. Out of that one book, I spun off from that book and I wrote DNA for teenagers and DNA for children. Then out of DNA for adults, it spun off again and I have a course called the DNA of Purpose. The same resource can now earn for me in 4 different ways. If you buy a copy of the book DNA and Destiny Navigational Application for Adults, it's fantastic. But if you have children, if you have teenagers, you have to buy the teenage edition and you have to buy the one for children if you have younger children. And if you really want to be able to distill what Destiny Navigational Application says, you want to sign up for Purpose University so that you can take the DNA of Purpose course. 1 idea, 4 ways to earn by. There was a time during the pandemic that nobody, we couldn't even go out, let alone display books anywhere. But out of the DNA of Purpose idea, the course, I sold and I sold and I sold. As a matter of fact, in 2020, I made more money out of the DNA idea. I published the book in 2014. And in 2020, during the pandemic, a spin-off course came out of it. And oh my God, up to tomorrow, there is no year that I don't earn from that idea. You want to sit down and ask yourself, what else can come out of what I have now? What else can come out of what I have now? The problem most of us have is that we don't spend enough time with what we have before we begin to pursue what we could have. But if you sit down with God and you pray and you ask Him to open your eyes so that you will see what is available within what you already have, you'll be amazed that everything you've done can become something else. Every book I have written can become a course. Every book I have written, I can write a children's version, and I can write a teenager's version. The point I'm making is that when you come to Gihon, exploration is your thing. You need to sit down and think, who else can I serve with this idea? The context of Gihon represents growth, like I said. It is now you begin to look at what you have to say, okay, what is the spin-off that can come from this? What is the side hustle that can come out of this thing that I'm doing right now? Some of us, since the pandemic, we now do remote work. Perhaps maybe you only do in-person work 3 times a week, and you do remote work twice a week. But in all of that, which means that there are certain days your time and your hours are a bit more flexible than the others. Have you considered doing other things? If you're a teacher, have you considered lessons? There was a time that for a teacher to run lessons for children, when my own children were growing up, they had to mean that the teacher would have to come physically to our homes to tutor my children. But now we have teachers in Nigeria who are earning in hard currency all over the world because a lot more younger children and their parents have migrated out of Nigeria, and they need people to tutor them in the things that they need to stand and excel where they are. A closed mind will never grow. So the thing that I see with, the key that I see to tapping into Gihon is that you must be someone who is willing to explore. You should be willing to diversify. You should be able to say, okay, beyond my primary income, what else or how else can I earn? And once you find that out, the rest, as they say, is history. Think about the Proverbs 31 woman. The Bible, everybody talks about this woman. But what I see, when I look at the Proverbs 31 woman, is one woman in different seasons of her life. One woman in different seasons of her life. The thing that she has that all of us want to learn from is that for every season, she did the best. She worked excellently. She served. so that at the end of her life or towards the winter years of her life, she was established on all fronts. I do not think that this was a woman that was doing multiple things at the same time at once, but she was a woman who served in each season of her life, and she used those seasons to establish different things so that by the time she got to a certain level of influence, those things started to pay her different streams of income. They will say to you that she managed multiple ventures from trading in real estate to showcasing the value of diversifying income sources. The Bible said that she would have put wool, she would take wool from merchant ships. There's not one of us that cannot be as diversified. You should be able to say, okay, beyond my primary income, what else or how else can I earn? And once you find that out, the rest, as they say, is history. Think about the Proverbs 31 woman. The Bible, everybody talks about this woman. But what I see, when I look at the Proverbs 31 woman, is one woman in different seasons of her life. One woman in different seasons of her life. The thing that she has that all of us want to learn from is that for every season, she did the best. She worked excellently. She served. So that at the end of her life or towards the winter years of her life, she was established on all fronts. I do not think that this was a woman that was doing multiple things at the same time at once, but she was a woman who served in each season of her life, and she used those seasons to establish different things so that by the time she got to a certain level of influence, those things started to pay her different streams of income. They will say to you that she managed multiple ventures from trading in real estate to showcasing the value of diversifying income sources. The Bible said that she would have put wool, she would take wool from merchant ships. There's not one of us that cannot be asked the right questions. Someone intentionally looks around them to ask themselves, what more solutions can I provide from what I know how to do? So for instance, in contemporary applications, what are the things you can do daily so that you can earn another stream of income? When I come back, I'm going to delve into that. I do hope that you're getting value out of this podcast. Please don't go away. I'll be right back. God bless you.
Seeking to clarify your purpose and profit from it? Then get into Purpose University this year. It's a 10-week e-course for people of faith who seek to clarify their purpose and profit from it. The DNA of purpose has been put together to help you understand what purpose is about and also help you discover what your journey of purpose looks like. Register today at yourpurposeu.org, where Bidemi Mark-Mordi would hold your hands so you can discover your purpose and live a more powerful life. In a world filled with many fears and discouragement, life often becomes a burden. For those who know the way, life is just simple. Do not worry, you're not alone on this life's journey, as Bidemi Mark-Mordi shares powerful insights and principles from her everyday work and life experiences in her book, Nevertheless. Nevertheless is a book designed to encourage and equip you to face life with courage, hope, and determination. Get a copy of Nevertheless and other books written by Bidemi Mark-Mordi, like The Wisdom of the Seed, Honor, The Theology of Work, and so much more from a bookstore nearby, or call 080-905-63555 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com to place your order. I guarantee you will make it. Nevertheless.
Welcome back. It's still the Nevertheless Show, a show for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. We're looking at or exploring how to create multiple streams of income. And we're using the template in Genesis chapter 2, verse 10 to 15, that talks about the 4 rivers in the Garden of Eden as our launch pad to see what we can do. This episode is episode 2, and we're looking at Gihon, the river that means bursting forth. and we're exploring how to expand and multiply the things that we do. I said that the key is to serve more people if you want another stream of income. Before we went on the break, I said that contemporary in the economies that we are right now, what are the things that a person could do to ensure that they can create another stream of income? Number one, freelancing. Now people can freelance about, as for about anything. A few months ago, I had surgery, and the orthopedic surgeon who came who performed my surgery, worked in a different hospital in another part of town that was far from my part of town. I didn't want to have to commute that far to be able to have surgery done, so that it would be easy for my husband to visit me in the hospital. So we opted for my part of town. And when we asked the surgeon if there was a way he could have the surgery done in our part of town, he said, as a matter of fact, he consulted in another hospital not far from us. He had his main job, which was his primary source of income, but on his off days, he consulted elsewhere. And so this hospital where he consulted was where I had my surgery done. The point I'm making is that there is nothing that you can freelance with now. And so you need to be able to take freelance jobs. Early on my journey, before I had what I'll now call an in-house graphic artist that does my work, the first set of logos and designs that I did were farmed out. I went on Fiverr because it's not like I had a lot of money. I went on Fiverr and I engaged people, and they designed my logos for me. If you're a graphic artist, it just means that you work more hours than usual. If you have a 9 to 5 job and you take on freelance projects, when you are done with your 9 to 5, then you sit with your freelance projects and get them done. We know many people who are working in different places, but they have freelance projects where they consult or where they work. So freelancing is one major boost that you can get to build a client base for another stream of income. Another one that contemporarily you can explore is e-commerce. There is absolutely nothing that you can't sell online now. Sometimes when we travel abroad, we want to buy Nigerian food. We just go online. They are all over the place. You can go online and you can shop for Nigeria food, and very easy. People sit in their homes. I have a friend who does moi moi mix. Moi moi in Nigeria is bean pudding. That's what we tend to try to call it. But it's made out of beans. It's a mix of beans, peppers, tomatoes, and some protein. And she does that mix that she sells. She sells it, wait for it. She sells it on Etsy. She has an Amazon front store. The point I'm making is that e-commerce is big. E-commerce is big. If there was no e-commerce, we would not have survived the pandemic. But because of e-commerce, there was nothing we wanted to buy that we couldn't just on the palm of our hands on our phone order. You want to craft things that used to be hobbies for people. If you go on Instagram, you'll see all kinds of artists. E-commerce. If you want another stream of income, ask yourself, what I already know how to do as my primary source of income, is there a way to digitize it? Or is there a way to put it online so that other people will buy from me? Something else that you want to consider is content creation. That is huge. And a lot of people are doing all kinds of things, and they're earning big out of content creation. There are adverts, in the channels on YouTube. There's sponsorship. There's affiliate income if you cross-pollinate with other people. Consider these things. There's nothing you can't create an additional stream of income from if you do the work. Sometimes you may need to learn from others. Other times you may need to sit down and do the research and learn. But there is nothing. Many years ago, when I started to podcast, I decided that it's not even now that YouTube will flag everything as content from someone else. I decided that I did not want, this is over 10 years ago, I did not want to use anybody's theme music for my music, for my intros and my outros. I got a young man who played the keyboard for us in church, and I gave him a brief. And I said, create for me, a number of theme songs, and I'll pay you. And he did those tracks for me. And those tracks are what I still use today. If I start another show, I will just go into my archive and I'll spring out another of those same songs, tracks rather, and I'll be able to use them. So my tracks are exclusive to me. But for that young man to do that for me, I had to pay him. So you need to consider content creation. There is, again, absolutely nothing in this world that is getting smaller and smaller and smaller digitally that you can't put online and make money from. What are the practical steps to ensure that you are able to create these multiple streams of income? Identify the skills that you have. If they are not skills yet, ask yourself, what talents do I have? What gifts, what am I gifted with? And then take from that, by the time you determine what your talents or your gifts are, ask yourself a follow-up question. What can I do with this? Submit yourself to the process of growing that thing, of learning or distilling that thing into a product, a skill, or a service. And from that point on, you can take off. Number two, what practical steps? Start small. Begin with manageable projects. When I shared with you about Effectual Magazine, I told you that I could not afford to do a proper magazine, but I could do, 10 pages or 5 pages or 6 or 7 pages of bond paper printed in one color. The content was rich. The presentation was not 100% great, but within the confines of what I could do in that time, I gave it my best shot. At the back of my mind, the picture always was to do an international standard magazine. And I did get there in a few years. But to start, so that I had something, because if I was even looking for instance, if I had to take investors, I had to be able to show them something. If I showed them this idea of the small one to say, this is it, small, but I want to expand it, they would listen to me than to show up empty-handed and begin to try to sell them an idea. So start small. Begin with manageable projects that you use to test the waters. Number three, and this is what I tell everyone, especially people who have 9-to-5 jobs and they're thinking of transitioning to maybe entrepreneurship. I usually say, don't quit cold talking. Instead, build a bridge. Make a transition, one that works, a smooth one from your job to your business or to your dream. And to do that, time management is the key. You have to recognize that if someone is paying you from 9 to 5, you have to deliver. As a child of God, you have to make sure you deliver on what you are being paid for. But it may mean that you sleep less than you used to sleep. It may mean that you socialize less, because you want to make sure that you manage your time properly to be able to give. If you intend to do, because freelancing is side hustling. If you decide to do freelancing, then you want to make sure that you know how to manage yourself and your time properly. Rest when you need to rest and put in the work when you need to put the work. What have I been trying to communicate to you? We're looking at creating multiple streams of income. We're looking at Genesis chapter 2, 10-15. And in this particular episode, I've told us that Gihon means bursting forth. And it speaks to expansion. And that when you have honed your skills and you have started to grow by your primary source of income, you want to consider exploring other things that one thing that you used to do can do to bring you additional source of income. Now, if I had to challenge you today, I would say to you that you need to take the first step. And your first step would be to identify what you want to transmit into another stream of income. If you're an author, ask yourself, can there be a spin-off course out of this book? Or is this something that I do another version? If you did a book for women, you can sit down and ask yourself, can I do one for men as well? It takes creativity to create different streams of income. And if you do the work, I promise you, you will soon send me an email or a DM thanking me for bringing this to the fore. God did not ordain for you to have just a one stream of income, but for you to have more than one stream of income and have multiple, you need to be willing to get the work in. It's been the Nevertheless Show, a show for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. This month, we've been looking at how to create multiple streams of income. And the big gist is that this is a God idea. Till next week, when I'll bring you episode 3 in this series, please remember that you need to sit down and ask yourself, what more can I do with what I already have in my hand? Remember that I always say to you that if you embrace what God has put on the inside of you, what I call your superpower, that you live powerful lives. May God be kind to you in Jesus' name. I'll see you next week. Please remember to follow me on social media. Please share this wherever you have listened or watched. Share it. And I'll see you next week when we'll be looking at the third river, the river Gihon or the river Tigris. God bless you and bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Nevertheless. For more information and resources, call 080-90563-555 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimark-mordi.com. Don't forget, discovering your purpose helps you live more powerfully.